Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40K. Now we're doing not really a mini series, but it's a pre-10th edition. We're going to be doing some videos, hopefully daily, maybe once every couple of days, and we're going to be looking at some of the previews that Warhammer have been releasing for some of the factions. Now we're going to go over their mainly two things really, their army rule and their detachment rule, and we're going to try and sort of come up with ways of sort of defeating their army rule. Now obviously we don't have our codex, they don't have their codexes, so we can't be saying things like, oh, you get your Scorbic destroyers and you can take this out. We can't do that because we don't know the datasheets, right? But just like when we looked at the Necrons with their preview with the reanimation protocols, you can kind of look at their ability and then kind of find weaknesses in it, and we're going to do that for other factions. So it's kind of like a know your foe, but not quite a know your foe in that respect. So today we're going to start on the Adeptus Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle. That's the first one that I wanted to start on because, well, the day of filming this, in fact, was the day that came out. So we're going to look at that one today, and then I'll kind of catch up with some of the others that we've missed. So their army rule, which is Acts of Faith, relates to Miracle Dice. So if you're not aware of how this works, if you've not seen the preview already, effectively at the start of every turn, as well as when they actually lose units, so if you destroy one of their units, one of the Sisters of Battle units, they also gain a dice. So start the turn, and if they lose a unit, what they're able to do with that dice, well, they put them in a pool. It's called the Miracle Dice Pool. They roll these dice up, and whatever the dice roll is, let's say you've got 2 dice there, you've got a 4 and you've got a 6. You put them to one side, that 4 and that 6, and whenever they want to, they can literally, before rolling, for example, to hit or to damage or to advance, whatever, they can say, you know what, instead of rolling for it, I'm going to use that 4 or I'm going to use that 6 as an example. So you can imagine if they're rolling for damage, instead of rolling for it, maybe it's d6, they can just take the 6 and go, I'm just going to have a flat 6, thank you very much. I'm not going to roll, and I'm not going to risk getting a 1 or something. Now they're able to do this with advanced rolls, battle shock tests, charge rolls, damage rolls, hit rolls, saving throws, and wound rolls. So there's quite a lot for them to pick from, and they can store these dice throughout their battle. Now, at first glance, the way you deal with that is, well, you simply just don't destroy their units. I know that sounds a bit counterproductive, not destroying units, but every time you did destroy a unit, you're effectively giving them one of these dice. Now, they're not the scariest thing, don't get me wrong, because they could just roll with that dice, that miracle dice, and maybe they'll roll a 1 or a 2, and you know, that's not very scary, is it? But when they start rolling 6s, that could now translate to all sorts of things. Again, it could be the damage, it could be the armor saving throws, it could be anything really. So you do want to minimize their miracle dice, what they get throughout the game. Now, if you are trying to minimize that, you're going to try to sort of not take out every single unit. That's the way that I would look at it from at a glance anyway, with this Acts of Faith ability. If you just nullify all the models that they've got in terms of damage outlay anyway, that way you're not gifting them dice. Now, unfortunately, that isn't where it ends there, because they've got their detachment ability from their Hallowed Martyrs detachment, basically. And this is kind of a counter to what I've just said, in fact. So let me go through this. It's called the Blood of Martyrs, and each time an Adeptus Sororitas model from your army makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll if their model's unit is below starting strength. And on top of that, you add 1 to the wound roll if they're below half strength. And even if there's only one model within the unit from the beginning, it's considered below starting strength if it's lost just 1 wound. So already you can kind of see the problem with what I've just said. If you start taking out models within a unit, but not actually finishing the unit off, well, then you're now granting them buffs to their hit rolls as well as their wound rolls. So you've got to make that decision. You're either going to wipe a unit out to get, you're going to effectively grant them miracle dice, or you're going to leave a unit, with a few models remaining, but those few models are now effectively getting a +1 to hit and a +1 to wound. You've got to take each unit as it comes. Some units are less dangerous than others. You've also got to consider objectives. If you've left one Battle Sister and she's not, she's on an objective, she's not that scary, she's not a threat in terms of damage, so you're not worried about the, the +1 to the hit roll, +1 to the wound roll, who cares about that, right? One Battle Sister, but she could potentially be on an objective. Now, thankfully, objective secured isn't a thing in 10th edition, so they'll have, what do they have, in fact, I can check this. They have objective control 2, so if there's one Battle Sister there, they'll effectively only have 2 in terms of controlling that objective. So you can quite easily take over the objective. You're not killing the unit, so therefore they're not gaining a dice. And the buffs to their hit rolls and win rolls isn't that important. However, and in fact they've given this as an example in the article, if you remember the Celestine and the Gemini Superior, which is a single unit, it's a character and 2 sort of bodyguards, a bit like the Silent King, a character and 2 bodyguards. If you take out the first bodyguard or the first Gemini Superior, then they're not at starting strength, so they're already going to have a +1 to their hit rolls. If you take out the second Superior, you've now given them a +1 to their win rolls. So that character model is actually going to be quite vicious. So you've got to be very careful. So that's a chance where you would say, you know what, I'd rather you have a miracle dice than have all the buffs to your hit rolls and wound rolls. But as for standard units, I think you need to kind of get them down to as low as possible in terms of unit size without actually destroying them, so they're not getting the miracle dice. And if it's a large unit, I would start with the larger things first. So for example, if you've got say 20 Necron Warriors, start with them first. Attack a full unit rather than a half unit, because there's a chance that you might not actually wipe their unit. Then if they've got say 3 or 4 models remaining, then you can start using the other arms fire that we've got at our disposal. Maybe you've got a Staff of Light there over there, you've got a Plasmic Lance over there. Maybe there's one Hexmark Destroyer with the pistols over there. That's when you can start using the smaller arms fire just to chip off a few models in a unit, just to load them down to the absolute minimum. But you are definitely going to have to micromanage how you get them down to that smaller scale without actually destroying the unit. So guys, that's a little bit of strategy from me today for the Adeptus Sororitas. If we're going against them, I'm probably going to be doing another one tomorrow. I'm not sure which faction I'm going to be doing. And in fact, before we go guys, just to let you know, we've not only opened our Tyranids channel, we've not only opened our Space Marine channel, but we've now also opened a Chaos Demons channel. So we've got 4 channels now, although I'm not actually going to be the host of that channel. So there will be someone that's sort of been taken under my wing, so give him a bit of support in the comments and all that jazz. And if you've got anything to, sort of any advice for him, yeah, let him know down in the comments below. But other than that guys, all that is left to say, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.